In this video, I like to show you some basic tricks for cleaning the census data, microdata file PUMF, as well as doing some basic tabulations or cross tabulations for your analysis. First off, this is the data set that we have downloaded in the preceding video. Let me remind you that this is for the Toronto CMA, and I look at the age group, whether the people or the respondent is living in a condominium or not, how far the distance that they commute to work, employment income, average household size, tenure, whether it's owning or renting, and then for those owning, what is the estimated self-reported housing value? Now, I want to draw your attention to a couple of things. Number one, if you look at tenure 1 and 2, what do they mean? It is handy to actually have it side by side, the website for census variable definition. If you go back to the tenure variable, which is here, click the summary statistic, you will see that the mean is 1.29. There's no such value of 1.29 reported in the census data set, which means we have to go back to the categories to see the categorical variables, what it means. 1 means owner, 2 means renter, and 8 is not available. Not available means the person is not responding. In other words, we cannot simply just use the average value to estimate tenure, these categorical variables like this. Second thing, you will also realize for those reported as a renter, the self-estimated housing value is 99999. What does it mean? Because self-reported housing value is for owners only. Therefore, renters automatically would receive and not applicable, which is 99999 in the census data set. So the easiest way to analyze a data set like this is to separate owners from renters into two subsets. And the way to go about doing it, it's just like the way how we isolate Toronto CMA from the big data set. Look at filter. Identify only the owners, 1. Set a new data sheet. Go back to Toronto CMA, copy the owners only onto the new sheet, and you will realize that all the tenure, it's 1 in this particular sheet. Call this, let me rename it as owners. Do the same thing for renters, rename it as renters. Go back to the Toronto CMA worksheet, but this time go to the filter for tenure. Deselect everything and select only 8. My apologies, only 2. Then copy and paste the filtered observations, which are renters, onto the renter website worksheet. You will realize that tenure, it's all 2 throughout, and housing value, it's 99999. Save the data set. Now, then from now on, we will be working with owners and renters only, separately. And as I said, I like to keep the data set clean, probably save the Toronto overall data set separately. And in this case, I am going to delete this worksheet later on. For now, let's work on the owner data set. You realize that our goal here is to clean the data, which means isolate and delete all the anomalies. For number one, everyone is living in the same CMA now. I don't need this variable. I can delete it. I also do not need the tenure variable because I know everyone is receiving the same ones. So delete it. Now I have a cleaner data. And you realize that employment income has a lot of 99999s. These are, again, unreported values. So why not sort this data set by employment value, employment income, and I like to sort it by cell value, let's say from the smallest to the largest. You will see a whole bunch of minus numbers. We can't work with negative employment income being negative. So let's search for the biggest positive number. That doesn't work. Let's look for 1,000. Doesn't work. 10,000. Still a minus number. So let's scroll all the way down. Find the meaningful numbers. See, earning $1 doesn't mean a thing. So let's look for the next largest number. Oops. Let's find 1,000. Doesn't work. Let's try again. Let's sort my data set by employment income. From cell value, from the smallest to the largest, okay. And search for 1. So looking for not the whole value. There you go. Let's scroll up until we hit the next meaningful smaller number. See if we can find it. Let's try a different method. Search for, within this match case, entire cell content. Find next. This is the first positive number. Earning $1, it's meaningless. So let's search for the next meaningful number. Go down and see if we can find the next meaningful number, which is right here, 1,000. And we are happy to start with $1,000 as employment income rather than $1. So we'll have to delete all the incomes less than 1,000. So now we have a cleaner data set. And you notice that we also have 99999. So let's search for the first 99999. We'll start from the top. Not the whole case, whole cell content. Find next. And you realize that preceding the 99999s, we do have some 8s. Again, these are not applicable or not available values. Delete the rest of the observations. So finally, we are dealing with incomes that are much more meaningful with valid responses. So we have cleaned the owner's data. Now, how we analyze the data depends on what question you ask. Suppose I'm interested in those of different age groups, whether they are living in condominium or not. So let's say I am using what is called pivot table. So search for pivot table. It will automatically select the whole range of data set that we have. Notice that we have 66,000 observations. It will create a new worksheet based on whatever table we want and click OK. Here are all the variables we have. We want to look at age groups, so that will be in our rows, and whether or what is the average number of people living in a condominium. So it's not a sum, but is an average. To find an average or the proportion of population in each age category, we click Value Field Settings. Click that. The proportion is just an average. Click OK. Here it is. Let's clean this up a little bit. And you can see that 88 is not, if you come back to the age variable, 88 means not available. It's a non-response. If you look at those reported in census, a majority living in condominium would be between the age category of 9, 10, and 11. And who are they? 9, 10, and 11 would be the young people, 25 to 39. And then when we look at older people, 9, 18, 19, 20, 21, these are also the majority living in, not majority, but a larger proportion living in condominium. So let's say 18 and above. So these are older people, age 70 and above. How about I want to look at, let's come back to the data set. I want to look at what is the average housing value among homeowners living in and not in condominium. So do the same analysis using pivot table. Okay. I want to see whether it is condominium or not. But this time, what is the housing value? Again, I'm not looking at the sum. I want the average. Click value field setting. It will give you the option, and I want average. So let's clean up these numbers. Easier for the eyes. 8. Let's look at condominium. What does it mean? For condo, 8 means not available. Again, non-response. For those not living in a condo, the average housing value is 1.3 million in 2021. And then for those living in a condominium, it's about $700,000. You can do similar analysis for renters. And again, the question depends on how you want to analyze, depends on what questions you have. You can look at average household size and look at whether they are living in a condo or not, and also the distance to commute.